everyone. Look what I got. I may or may not have splurged and actually purchased the entire series of Everworld. I am very excited about this. I also don't have to worry about finding all the rest of the series online, like in PDF forms and things like that. So I'm very excited that we will be able to continue the story together without any interruptions or anything like that. If you didn't see the caption, it's really important to mention, because where we left off is where, the last sentence in chapter 4 was, and then the entire universe ripped apart. So, that, as far as the story is concerned, is very true. There is officially a content advisory, trigger warning, content warning, however you want to look at it. There is going to be a lot of violence. There's going to be torture. There is going to be bullying, homophobia. There's going to be depictions of mental health symptoms and issues. A lot of everything. Now, this series is recommended for ages 12 and up. I personally know that I could not have been older than 15 when I read the books I read, because I was asking my mom to take me to bookstores to get the next book, so I couldn't drive yet. I don't think that is an inappropriate age recommendation, but those things are going to come up. And I just want everyone to be kind of forewarned about that's going to be part of what happens. But, this is a good versus evil kind of story. And not even necessarily good guys versus bad guys, but good and evil inside of ourselves as well. And that is something that we all have to overcome. Racism as well. I need to put that in the, it does. They touch on a lot of it. So I just wanted to talk about that before we got started today, because it does deal with things humans do to each other, unfortunately. And so, these teenagers are going to be dealing with that. And so we're going to go on that journey with them and learn from their mistakes, learn from their experiences, in the hope that we don't have to go through them ourselves. So, Chapter 5. It was like a fade, like on a TV show when they fade from one picture to another. 1 minute you're seeing one picture, then slowly another picture emerges beneath the first. Only this was not TV, and this was happening in 3 dimensions. The picture had sight, sound, smell. It had the breeze that smelled of damp. It had the soft sounds of water sighing against the shore. It had the feel of chill and of soft grass under my soles, and of sweat cooling on my body. It had low, heavy clouds that seemed to squeeze the air out of my lungs. It had Senna, alone at the end of the pier, and the memory of her lips on mine. In one sickening moment, all that began to shimmer, as if it had been a reflection in a bowl of water, and someone had tapped the bowl. It shimmered and sent a wave of fierce sickness through me. The clouds twisted as if a tornado were forming. The pier seemed to almost curl, like a pig's tail. I looked at Jaleel. His face was turning inside out, inside out. I could see the back of his eyes, the gray wrinkled brain, the heavy, gasping trachea in his throat. I held my hands up instinctively, blocking that vision, but my own hands were twisted and deformed. The skin was flayed and spread out as if I'd been skinned. I could see the blood-soaked muscles beneath the white bones. I saw the arteries pumping blood through my wrists. I cried out, but my moaning voice came from somewhere outside of myself and rang distant and false in my ears. The ground opened until I could see buried rocks pushing up beneath me, but I didn't fall. The sky split apart, a blue-gray curtain drawn back to reveal black space and a sun burning too close. The clouds boiled madly. I've gone insane, I cried, but the thought itself was nothing but dancing electrical charges, sparks between neurons that I could see behind my eyes. And in all this twisted chaos, all this hallucinatory madness, I still saw Senna, whole, complete, herself. The gray, choppy surface of the lake swelled up, rising higher and higher, as if it would crash down on us in a tidal wave. It rose, and as it did, the chop roughened, lengthened, formed itself into a mountain of shaggy gray fur. The mountain pulled up and back, bringing more into view. 2 ears, a brow, eyes, brown and yellow eyes the size of backyard kiddie pools, intelligent, cold, gleeful, malicious. Up rose the snout of a wolf's head. Up behind Senna, who still looked at me, right at me, it came up and opened wide with glittering teeth that may have been 6 feet long. The wolf's mouth opened wide and lunged. Only then did Senna turn away from me and face the wolf. She held her thin arms up in a pathetic gesture of resistance, but the wolf snatched her up in one swift bite. It closed its jaws around her, but gently, holding her helpless, limp, unresisting now. "Senna!" I shouted. "Senna!" And now the voice was coming from inside me, and it sounded real and raw and impotent. The ground became ground again. My hand was skin over muscle, over bone. Jalil's face was twisted by shock, but a human face. It was ending. It was ending with the wolf, the monstrous wolf, sinking slowly back into the water. In a few seconds, it would be gone. I had been frozen in place, but now my legs moved, shaking, wobbling, my stomach twisted. I ran after her, down to the pier. "David, don't do it," Jalil yelled. It was Christopher who answered him. "Like hell," he said. "That thing's got her." Then Christopher was running too, and April behind him and Jalil behind her. We were all 4 running, our footsteps pounding. The closer we came to the wolf, the more the universe around us became twisted and distorted again. The pier itself suddenly swooped uphill, soft and twisted as a piece of taffy. But we ran. Courage, panic, rage, some stupid animal instinct. I don't know. I don't know why we ran after that monster from another world. We ran as it turned away. We ran, the twisted universe receding with us, racing the wave of distortion. Suddenly, the sound of feet on damp concrete stopped. There was nothing between my feet. I leaped. I leaped and was frozen. Still. Utterly still. Unable to move, unable to do more than slowly aim my eyes. I shifted my slow motion gaze from nothing to nothing to nothing more. I was buried in cotton, cloud, whiteness all around me. It didn't touch me. Nothing touched me. I floated, naked, exposed, watched. Yes, maybe I felt something. Yes, watched. Play your story for me, David. Show me your secrets. I was in summer camp. I didn't want to go to summer camp. My parents made me. Good for me, you see. But I knew things were wrong at home. I knew there was trouble between my parents. I had felt the hard, sure edges of my life beginning to crumble. I said, but I don't want to go. Once you're there, you'll like it. Awake, pretending to sleep in my bunk, listening to the snores and farts and crying and sleep mumbling of a dozen kids around me. Pretending not to hear Donnie's footsteps. White nylon camp windbreaker bright in the reflected moonlight, moving confidently, arrogantly. He had the power. The counselor. We were just kids. Why was he doing it? Why didn't he just go away? He stopped beside the same cot as before. It was wrong what he was doing. It was bad. Why didn't the kid cry out? Why didn't he yell? Save him, David. Don't pretend to sleep. Don't inch the blanket higher around your head. Don't press your hands over your ears. Don't. Will you save me, David? Later. Older. Last year. Walking out of the gym, sweaty from some after-school one-on-one, walking past the coach's office. It was none of my business. A loud, berating voice. What's the matter with you? I slow my walk and I look through the glass door. Some kid from the junior varsity football team in a jersey and shoulder pads sitting there, head hung. You disgust me. You make me sick. Your attitude out there on the field. You make me want to throw up. You might as well be a little girl. Are you a man or are you some kind of faggot? I open the door. Some part of my brain has taken over my body in a flash. No thought. No hesitation. The switch has just been thrown. The rage adrenaline is flooding through my arms and legs, stiff with repressed energy. The kid is crying in his cot. Leave him alone. What are you doing here, Levin? Get the hell out of my office. I can take care of myself. The kid yells, nearly hysterical, face streaked with mud and tears, turning his anger on me. I'm 2 feet away from the coach. He's my size, older though. Fat in the middle, slow. Leave the kid alone. I ought to kick your ass, the coach roars. Screw you, the kid yells at me. You think you're so tough? I walk away. My voice says. I see. And that's the end of chapter 6. We'll find out where they wake up in the next segment. Actually, I've decided I don't want to leave it with that. That's not a nice place to leave for sleeps. I woke in agony. Pain in every muscle fiber, every joint. I tried to move, but something was wrong. My arms were pinned. My legs seemed to be dangling. My chest was stretched. My spine. My eyes snapped open. I couldn't make sense of what I saw. It was like that moment when you wake from a dream and look around your room unable to figure out where you are or what things mean. I was hanging by my arms. My back was against a stone wall. Stones as big as cars. Chains were attached to my wrist with shackles. The chains and shackles could have held King Kong. A dream. Had to be. Wake up. Come on, David, wake up. I slammed my head against my head back against the wet, mildewed stone. The pain was real. I closed my eyes tight and opened them again. I was still hanging by my wrists. My clothes were shredded. I could feel my partly bare butt scraping against the stone. My heels kicked back and hit rock. I was hanging like a piece of meat, dangling, stretched, helpless. Hey, is anyone there? I yelled. Not a brilliant thing to say, but what do you say when you wake up to find yourself hanging against a wall? We're all here. a harsh, strained voice said. April? I pushed my head out and twisted it to look around my own armpits. She was hanging about 10 feet away on the same wall. I could see her wrists. They were scraped raw. Blood had run down her arm and dried. We'd been hanging for a while. It was cold. Very cold. Yes, it's me, she said. Her voice came out in ragged gasps. I guess mine did too. Where are we? I really don't know, David, she said with surprising gentleness. Despite her strained breathing, she even managed just a hint of mockery. I don't think I'm familiar with this place, but I can tell you one thing. Don't look down. I looked down. Down was a long, long way. My running shoes were hundreds of feet above jumbled, jagged rocks that formed a shoreline. If I fell, I'd have plenty of time to scream before I was sliced and smashed. I looked up. This was harder to do, but more reassuring. There was an end to the wall, a parapet, I guess you could have called it. The wall rose only 6 or 8 feet above my head, topped by tall stone teeth. My chains went up between 2 of the teeth. Are you okay? I asked April. I'm alive, she said. I think Jalil's breathing, but he's still unconscious. I can't see Christopher very well. He's on the other side of you. I twisted my head to the left and saw Christopher. He must have just awakened. He was looking around wild-eyed till he spotted me. Well, this isn't good, Christopher said. Where are we? I sighed. Then a thought. Senna, is she here? No, April said. At least not that I can see. Maybe on the far side of Jalil, I can't tell. Jalil, I yelled. Jalil, wake up! What? He said. Oh, man. Got that right, Christopher muttered. Jalil, is anyone hanging to your right? I asked. No, no one else. This is one bitch of a dream, Christopher said. Not a dream, Jalil said. Doesn't feel right for a dream. Of course it's a dream, Christopher said scornfully. What, we're actually hanging by our wrists on some castle wall? I don't think so. Maybe he's right, I said to April. Maybe I'm dreaming. Then dream me up a parka. It's cold, April said. I looked away from her and out across the landscape. It was a gray day, just like it had been, but nothing else was the same. The castle, if that's what it was, seemed to be at the end of an unbelievably steep chasm. Rugged, bare, black stone walls rose sheer on both sides. And the bottom of this canyon was a lake, or maybe an inlet. One way or the other, there was dark, glass-smooth water. It reflected the harsh cliffs so that they seemed to go down forever. It was a picture in shades of gray, from near black to near white, but with never a splash of color. Until a dot of red appeared. I squinted and focused. Down along the left side of the cliff wall, maybe a half mile away, there was a boat. It was bow on to us. I couldn't see how big it was, but it was flashing out a sail as it rounded a point of land. A square sail with some sort of logo or symbol in red. Were there people on that boat? I couldn't see that far. There's a boat, I said. Maybe they'll help us, Christopher said. I can't take this, man. My arms, my wrists are all bloody. I think maybe one of my shoulders is dislocated. I have Advil in my backpack, April said. I think I still have it on, but it's going to be hard to get anything out. I glanced over. She was wearing a backpack. It had pushed her out from the wall. It must have been painful. This was ridiculous. We were hanging by our wrists. Where was the lake? Where was the city? There's no castle in the Chicago area. Where were we? I took a couple of breaths, deep breaths, fighting down the urge to start yelling. If I started acting scared, I'd start being even more scared. I was scared plenty. I was good and scared. But being scared was one thing. That was normal. How you acted when you're scared, that's what mattered. My dad told me that. He has 2 Purple Hearts and a Silver Star that prove he has the right to talk about fear. Has to be a nightmare, Christopher grunted, trying to reassure himself. Has to be. The whole thing, Senna, the wolf, this, all of it. I don't think so, Jaleel said. It's going on too long. It doesn't have a feel of a dream. It's bizarre, but I think it's real. I push my legs back, my body goes away from the wall. Cause and effect. Dreams, you lose normal cause and effect. You jump around in time. This is reality. Damn it. Someone help us. Help! Help! Christopher yelled. Help us! Help! I guess he was tired of hearing Jaleel analyze things. I kept my attention on the boat. It was something to focus on, something better than focusing on pain and fear. I like to sail. My dad had a 42-footer back in Annapolis, where we used to live. A wooden boat, practically an antique. When I was younger, he'd take it out on the bay on Saturdays. Him and my mom and me. Then my dad retired from the Navy and we ended up in Chicago. We brought the boat with us, but since then my folks got divorced. My dad remarried a woman with her own kids, so I don't see my dad as much. Anyway, you can't compare sailing on Lake Michigan with sailing on the Chesapeake Bay. The boat with the red emblazoned sail was turning slowly as the wind caught the canvas. I could see that it was bigger than I'd expected, longer, riding low in the water. Oars? Were those oars I saw? And yes, there were figures moving about on the deck. I caught a faint suggestions of blonde hair, flashes of polished metal. Then I saw the figurehead, a graceful prow that rose high till it ended in an ornate carving of a dragon's head. I barked out a laugh. No way. But it was true. There was no mistaking the unique lines, the very sight of which had once sent brave men running. It's a longboat, I said. Yeah, really long. Who gives a rat's ass how long it is? Christopher demanded. Help, help! No, it's a longboat, I said, not believing my own words. A Viking longboat. Oh yes, that's much better. So we will continue on with chapter 8 and 9 next week. And we'll see how they get themselves out from hanging by their wrists in shackles against a stone wall.